Hello guys, my name is Zerx, and today I'm going to be doing some more history, and yeah, I'm back from a bit of a hiatus because I don't know, I just had a lot of exams and papers due again, and, well, really there's nothing I can do about that. I gotta put school first, but you guys understand. Today we're going to be talking about World War II history, really towards the end, the American-Japanese side of it. Really specifically, we're going to be talking about the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, here is some background on it first. Less than 5 months after the sneak attack by the Japanese on Pearl Harbor, we're all very familiar with it. We went, less than 5 months to strike at Tokyo with a bombing raid. Problem was, it was a small aircraft carrier-based attack, so we couldn't really send our whole fleet or armada or all of our planes over there. It was a very small contingent. So what did it do? It did pretty much nothing. It just proved that we can bomb them. It's possible. Later, we were actually able to launch full-scale bombing runs on Japan. That was only after this island hopping campaign. And so if you remember from like AP US history, or you happen to know because you're a history buff, the island hopping campaign, well, World War II, if you start on the west coast of the US, there are a bunch of islands in between that and Japan. And so what we were doing is just like advancing our armed forces across the Pacific Ocean, using these islands as like little bases along the way. And so this was known as the island hopping campaign. And so it wasn't until we reached the Mariana Islands, and we used a very specific one for most of our bombing runs. I believe it was Tinias, Tinias, and I'm not really sure how to say that. So if you guys know, well, you can correct me in the comments or something like that. Give me a PM. And so once we got there, to the Mariana Islands, we started launching our long-range B-29 runs. And so these were very high altitude because, these are very large bombing planes. It's the B-29 Super Fortress, which is, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much the bombing workhorse of the US during World War II. And these are pretty big, as you see right now, as I put this picture up. And so once we got to the Mariana Islands with our B-29s and we started running our bombing runs, well, this was towards the end of 1944, and then these bombing runs happened all the way through 1945. And if you know the years of World War II, I think it was 1939 to 1945. And if I'm overlooking something, then just, yeah, let me know. I don't mind. And so that really was towards the end. America didn't really get involved until late in the war. Alright, so back to Japan and our bombing runs on them. So on March 9th, 1945, we had an armada B-29s go and drop all these incendiaries, and that's just one example that this article had. Basically, we're just constantly dropping incendiary bombs on Tokyo. And the Allies, our buddies, Great Britain and, all the other, like, non-Nazi, non-Japanese people, or I guess non-Italy, too, Mussolini, Hitler, and Hirohito. They're the Axis, and everyone else is the Allies, everyone else that's involved. So the Axis, or I'm sorry, the Allies are also bombing, Germany with these incendiary bombs. There's a very specific case that this article talked about in Dresden, Germany, in which from one firebombing, 135,000 people were killed. And that, as you will find out later, is a lot of people. We were also, bombing Tokyo, and so what this article goes on to say is that both Tokyo and Dresden were civilian targets. They weren't military targets. There weren't a bunch of military bases, like barracks or some kind of warehouses or arsenals. This is pretty much commercial and residential. Really, before World War II, this wasn't okay at all. By international standards and laws, it was illegal. And it was really just seen as, cruel, barbaric. But, after several years, in World War II, they were willing to say, well, not so much that they were willing to say, but it just kind of became accepted. You know, it doesn't matter. We're just going to do what we have to do. And so we kept bombing Tokyo and the rest of Japan once we got to the Mariana Islands. And that really sets up the rest of this, because we're going to continue bombing, and then we're going to get to the big climax, and there's going to be a little bit of a discussion, but I'm actually running out of time, so if you guys like this, well, let me know. And I would really appreciate some kind of constructive criticism, especially since I'm kind of off my game, because I haven't put up a video in a while. Yeah, if you like this, World War II history, stay tuned. I will be back. Take care, guys.